Hello, MotoAmerica fans. It's time for another episode of Off Track with Carruthers and Bice. You'll laugh, you'll cry, and you may even learn something from this unlikely pair and their special guest. The mic is yours, Paul and Sean.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I guess it's probably morning for most people. It's definitely morning for me because these two idiots that I'm joined by, Sean Bice and Max Flinders, got me up really early this morning, and I'm kind of tired, but I may or may not have stayed up and watched the final episode of The Golden Bachelor, so we can kind of blame it on that. But anyway, this is Off Track with Carruthers and Bice. It's MotoAmerica's weekly motorcycle racing podcast. Obviously, we focus on MotoAmerica, and today we've got a guest, Max Flinders, who's basically been with MotoAmerica since the very beginning. And Sean and I were talking before we got started here. It's like you feel like he's got to be old, but he's not, because he started so young and he's been with us so young, and he's been racing Superbike. And this year was a really good year for Max. I mean, he finished in the top 10 in the Superbike Championship, which is probably a goal when he gets started on this. And he took up something new and jumped into the Mission King of the Baggers Championship. He ended up finishing 11th. But what made his year, and I think made a lot of people's year, was the fact that he got on the podium in the very last race of the year, miserable conditions at New Jersey Motorsports Park, and he put his Indian on the podium in a King of the Baggers race. It was his first ever MotoAmerica podium. And I mean, I was thinking about it today. It's like, it's the quality of the rider that gets a motorcycle and a team into the podium, but it's like the quality of the person that brings out the outpouring of emotion that Max's podium finish got, with like all your peers. I mean, everybody in that paddock was over the moon with that result. And there's been several, I wouldn't say several, but there's been a few of those type of situations since we've been doing MotoAmerica. Like JD Beach gets his first win at VIR. Everybody's happy, even the people he beat. Roger Hayden wins at pit race, after the passing of his brother Nicky. I mean, there's special moments like that, and this was one of those. So I think you should be really proud of that, Max, because it made a lot of people happy.
Yeah, I mean, it still feels like a dream still. Like, the whole day just felt, I was buzzing just all day, and then people were calling me and saying that they were screaming at the TV and crying, and it was like the flood of people who like supported me and like were so happy for me. It was definitely an emotional, really amazing day. I mean, the funniest thing to me is still Gillim won the championship in that race, and he was more excited for me than he was about winning the championship.
Right.
It was just, I don't know, having that support and having all the people and even the other riders, man, it was an amazing moment for sure.
Yeah, it's when the paddock comes together like that you just realize like how cool a bunch of people that we have that we get to work with, 10 times a year or whatever, and it's pretty damn cool. But I know you haven't had a wedding, and I know you haven't had the birth of any children, so I think it's fair enough that you won't get in too much trouble if you answer this question, but was that the best day of your life so far?
Oh, 100%.
Wow.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow.
Yeah, I've been waiting for a moment like that for a while, and I've had ups and downs, doubts and thoughts and stuff, and I don't know, I was also thinking about quitting it sometimes and stuff, and then you have moments like this and you're right back. You're like, nope, I'm addicted again. I want to do this forever. Like, it's moments like that. They just make the sport for sure.
Yeah, it's like golf. All it takes is you hit one good shot and it makes you come back, even though you sucked at the other ones. But
yeah, as the first 6 holes were awful, but if you hit one good shot on that 7th one, then you're like, oh yeah, this is the best thing ever.
I was trying to think back to the race, and then I gave up because my memory's already shot. But
Paul,
go ahead.
I was going to say that, Paul. Sorry, I just wanted to say. So this is so Paul, you mentioned getting married, having a kid, or any of these moments. I thought, believe it or not, I thought of one of the Super Bowls that the Giants won. We can't ever make time stand still, and that at New Jersey, even for me, I was like, Max got on the podium. I wasn't ready. I wasn't even. Did you feel like that, Max? Like you go into every race wanting to do the best you can, but obviously you didn't know you were going to get on the podium. So did you feel like, wait, I did it? I mean, was it a surprise?
Like it didn't really. I didn't comprehend it until like the last like 2 laps because I was racing and like I had a little bit of an advantage because obviously I was in the Superbike race before, so I knew what the track was and everything. But I figured as I was passing people, they'd hook onto me and then learn and see what I was doing. And then it would, they'd come back. But I just kept passing and going forward. And then like 2 laps to go, I was like, there's a gap behind. I'm in 3rd place. And there's only 3 laps left. And I'm like, my brain just kind of went like exploded. And I was like, I started like freaking out a little bit. I had to focus because I was all over the place. My rain tires were shagged, like they were done, and I was just sliding and kicking. I'm like, dude, if you crash now, you're walking home. Like there's no way. So yeah, I don't know. My brain still doesn't comprehend it fully. Like I've watched the race, I've heard what the guys say, and like I think I've watched the race about 12 times. Like every time my mom comes home, she's had a bad day, she'll just like watch the highlights on the MotoAmerica page, and like she has a big smile. But yeah, I didn't expect it. I mean, I had a rough weekend. The weather was bad. I hurt my foot really bad, and it was the last race, and everything just kind of clicked, and the bike felt good, and it was like I said, you can't write this stuff,
Okay, refresh my memory a little bit. When you were in 3rd, did you know you were in 3rd? I mean, were they?
Yeah, we didn't have a pit board, but I knew. I looked forward and I saw Gillim and I saw Wyman, and I was like, these guys are normally like the top runners. So I'm like, And I didn't see anyone in front of them going down the straight. And I was like, I'm in 3rd, and like and at that time I was catching Gillim, and I had like this devil angel moment. This like my racing head was like, dude, go past him. No. Go. And then this guy was like, hey, no, just finish. Let's stay on the podium. And like I had like 3 moments that lap trying to catch Gillim. And then I came down the straightaway and I looked over, and my team, like I said, they didn't have a board, but they were just like, big gap, slow down, big gap. And I was like, okay, these guys want me to bring it home on the box. And I'm like, I mean, that's all I wanted, man. I want to be on that podium. I want to be standing, holding the trophies, having the crowd cheer. I think that's what we all want. So
well, that's what I was gonna get to. It's like you were 3rd, but fortunately you got smart enough that you didn't crash trying to get 2nd. Because there's one thing if you crash trying to win your first race, but when you got your first podium, it would have been, we would have all smacked you around if you would have crashed if you would have crashed trying to get 2nd, because there was no point.
Well, you see it all the time. Like there'll be a wet race or something, and you'll have this one guy who's just so confident. He's normally like a back runner or something like that. And he'll come through to like, he's on the box, and you're like, wow, he's riding so well. But they just keep pushing. They get like this adrenaline rush and like, I can win this. And 9 times out of 10, they crash. Yeah. And everyone's like, so luckily I've been doing this for a while. I got some kind of racing smarts or something like that. So, yeah, no, thinking about it, like I had a lot of moments. I tucked the front like 3 times. I high-sided a ton. So I was like, there was a lot of warning signs to say, look, this is good enough. And then I was just worried because I was pushing so hard in the first 5 laps that I really did cook my rear tire, and it was not gripping that well. And that's why I was looking back so much during the race, because in my head, there was no way like the likes of Bobby Fong and Jerry McWilliams and Corey West, there's no way that they're not catching me right now. So I was like twitching on the bike and stuff. And then I know James Rispoli went off in the first corner, and I knew he is a fighter. So I thought he was going to come back too. So it was a stressful race. If you could be in my head, like in that helmet for the last like couple laps, it was a lot of thoughts going on.
What's also cool too is like, okay, it was the King of the Baggers race, which now is a big deal. It was in the rain, but you beat the best guys in the King of the Baggers class, and you beat guys that race at the front in Superbike too. So I mean, there's a lot of things to be proud of there. It wasn't like some gift thing that you can be like, oh God, I'm kind of embarrassed about it. There's nothing to be on this one but proud. So again, it was really cool. I want to ask you something too. When you woke up that day, did it feel any different? Like, did you feel like something cool was going to happen, or were you just like another day?
No, not really. It just felt like another day. I hurt my foot really bad in practice. We have this swing arm adjustment from Attack on the Superbike, and it makes the rear end super aggressive. And when it rained, we didn't change it. So as soon as I went out, I crashed on the first corner, and I got lucky because Tyler O'Hara broke his foot, and I was about an inch from doing the exact same thing.
Wow.
So my foot was in agonizing pain on Saturday, and then on Sunday we went, and then Dr. Carl, he gave me a shot in it. Dude, I couldn't feel the thing all day. It was just like a wet fish, just like doing random stuff. And like I just went through the Superbike race. It went okay. I understood the track. I got a bit warmed up, and then I got in the bagger race. And like I said, when I started cruising, it wasn't easy, but it felt easy. There's only certain times that you get on a bike and you ride and everything just clicks and it feels good and you're moving, and it doesn't feel like you're pushing really, really hard. It doesn't feel like you're on edge. You're just in this mode of like comfort and speed. And that's kind of just how it was. I was just in this mode and I felt good, and I felt the bike twitching and moving, but it was all like predictable, and I just kept going forward and forward and forward. And I saw other people struggling, and I was like, I'm not having these issues. So it was just, like I said, I'm speechless still from it.
It's funny how New Jersey's been though about, you think about Kyle Wyman that year, he got on, he was second behind Tony, I think. And, that was a breakthrough for him too. That track has actually produced some interesting situations. Max, tell us about your team a little bit. I've gotten to know the team owner, Brandon White, pretty well. And he's an awesome guy. And tell us about that team and about him a little bit, if you would.
So Brandon he's an awesome guy. He's an ex-drag racer, and he's won championships, and he loves motorcycles. He has a shop. He works on them all the time. He builds motors for people, and he obviously back his team came around and he got his hand in it. He had a couple riders and things, and then he was at the AIM Expo this year, and he was talking to one of the MotoAmerica guys, and he goes, hey, have you ever thought about Max for like a ride? So then he looked me up, and he liked the way I presented myself and stuff, and we kind of got talking, and he's like, if you want it, cheers. And I was like, yes, please. That sounds awesome. But yeah, no, he's a great guy. He is so passionate about the sport. Yeah, he's like he's amped up all the time. It's really cool to be around him because you could just sense the passion, where I'm kind of like chilled out most of the time. And but no, everything we did, he wanted it to be better. He's like, this better. Like what he kept saying to me, he goes, I know how good you are. I want to give you a bike that lets you do what you can do. And that's how the whole year went. We went from the start. Daytona, we didn't have the best showing.
I was going to bring Daytona up.
Yeah, that was a bit rough.
Am I wrong? Didn't you crash in the paddock?
In the garage, wasn't it, Max?
What? No, I wouldn't do that. Yeah, no.
He did. He did.
It was the most embarrassing thing I've ever happened to me.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I was getting on the bike. It was the first time I've ever ridden the bike. It was the first time I met the whole team. And they're like, all right, let's go. I get on the bike, and I'm like, wow, this thing's tall. So I had my left foot down, and I was about to lift my foot to put it in gear, but I've never ridden it. It's so much wider than a super bike that my boot just caught the gear lever, and it went clunk forward. And the thing's so heavy, I just start falling. I'm like, dude, there's no way. It's like, these guys are never going to let me ride again. I just did the most rookie thing ever. I just sat on the bike. I already fell over. I'm like, this is going to be a good start. This is going to be a good
Welcome to King of the Baggers, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
I want to talk about, you mentioned about this situation with somebody from MotoAmerica at that AIM Expo. I want to mention So I think it was Mike Crosby. So Mike used to work for Liqui-Moly, and he's known you a really long time, longer than he's worked for MotoAmerica. He was with Liqui-Moly prior to working for us. So we knew he knew about you, and he's always, kind of singing your praises. And this is a lesson for anybody out there, networking and having relationships. I mean, because of Mike's relationship with you guys were at that show. He introduced you to Brandon White. I mean, it was great how it happened. And that works because the way you are being outgoing with your personality, Max, and knowing people, it's helped your program, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly have to give a lot of that to my dad as well. My dad's always like, dude, you never know who you're talking to.
Right.
I mean, like, I've talked to people at track days and I've helped them out, and like, they've owned businesses and they'll be like, hey man, I don't want to sponsor you, but I want to help out, and they'll buy fuel for the next race or something. Like, you always, to me, it's like, you never know what you want to see. But yeah, no, Mike Crosby has been a huge advocate for me for sure. And I've stayed at his house a couple of times. He invited me out to California, and actually came to see MotoAmerica while I was there, and walked around the facility and stuff. But yeah, I went over there. Me and Mike's son hang out. We had a good time. I got to do a couple of experiences, do stuff, and yeah, no, Mike's a really cool guy. So he sponsored me with Liqui-Moly, helped me out with a couple things. He's the one who helped us like get the truck and the presence in the paddock. And then when he started working for MotoAmerica, I was like, oh, awesome. So still get to hang out with him, get to see him. And like, he's like, hey man, there's these people. And I was like, he says you should talk to him. So he's always like handing me some like side things that I can try and do and things. So yeah, he's been really good. I'm glad that he's been in my corner with me, because I wouldn't have had some opportunities without him. So
that's good.
Well, it's a two-way street too, because obviously you're willing to do it. I mean, the fact that we can count on you for that kind of stuff, and you know how important it is for us and for you, is key, of course. So one of the things I want to mention real quick, again, just back to Brandon for a minute, just because I got to know him a little bit on this and we kind of discussed this. I don't think he's going to mind me saying so. He's been battling cancer. He's had a tough time, but he's got an unbelievably awesome attitude about it. When he told me his story, I mean, he's not the kind of guy, maybe Max, you hug him once in a while, but I gave him this giant hug. And afterwards I was like, I don't know what I was doing, but I was overcome with his story and his positive attitude, that I wanted you to talk about that too, a little bit about what that's all about with him.
Yeah. He's just, I don't know. He's just an amazing guy. It's the passion about him. He's just, everything he wants to do at his best. And he's been battling a lot of things. He was in the hospital this year with really bad heart issues, and he came through from it. And honestly, he told me at the New Jersey race that he could feel his heart. He's like, dude, I nearly died that day. Like, I was like, well, I'm glad you didn't. He goes, don't worry. I told him already. I was like, if I pass out, just kick me to the side and let you finish the race. And I was like, Jesus, man. Like, but yeah, no, that's how he is. He's definitely a people person. He's always like, he's helping, dude. He talks to everyone in the pit. Like, it's really cool to be a part of his team, because like in my team, our team's really friendly, but I'm like more of the guy who talks and goes out. And with Brandon, man, like, dude, we can hold conversations with people forever, because like I'll talk, he'll talk, I'll talk, he'll talk. And me and him have like hour-long phone calls, just like rambling off about random things and stuff. But no, his attitude is really special. Like I said, he's made friends with all the people in the paddock, Harleys, Indians, everyone. He's just going around, just talking to everyone. He gets help from a lot of people. He's always trying to figure certain things out for me and stuff. But yeah, no, he's definitely good to have in our race paddock for sure. His attitude, his passion, everything. And like the group that he pulled together, that's our team. I mean, those guys are volunteers. No one's getting like paid for that. They're all volunteers, and they didn't know me. They were doing it because of Brandon. They came in and they were doing it because they loved Brandon and they wanted to help him out. And like eventually they were like, okay, we're doing it for you too now. But it was like, yeah. It's just.
Let me say one thing before I tip it over to Paul. And by the way, thank you, Max. I actually got to apologize to Brandon. It's a heart condition. You're right. I was, when I talked to him, it seemed like such a situation that I was more overcome with what he was dealing with. And it's his heart, I remember. And it's a pretty serious issue anyway. But he's been facing it. He says every day with him, he just gets up and, deals with what he has to deal with and goes from there. So yeah, apologies to you, Brandon. I misdiagnosed you. It's why I do this and I'm not a physician. So anyway,
Dr. Bice.
Dr. Bice strikes again.
That's right.
So what can you tell us about next year? Is your program going to be similar? Are we still doing Superbike? Are we still doing King of the Baggers? What's going on there?
After the last race, King of the Baggers seems to be a definite for sure. Superbikes, I'm been talking with Tim at the moment. We're working on a couple things that we're trying to get sorted. I think that's going to be a plan too. I know the King of the Baggers guys love that I ride the Superbike as well because I just get extra track time. Because I've obviously privateers, we don't do testing. I never went on a test at all last year on either bike. So every time we pulled up to a track, we were figuring out the new things we had and everything. So I think next year, everyone's just trying to step up their game a bit more. Superbike, we went testing about a month ago. Unfortunately, I lost my brakes and ran into a fence, so that was fun. But
whoa. What track? Where were you?
Barber Motorsports.
Oh,
yeah. We went. I came up and I went up through 2, 3, 4, and down into Charlotte's Web. And I was like, "Well, nothing." It's like, oh no. So I was on the rear brake, and I think the guy said I went into the grass at 115, and there's like a fence, kind of like a 90-degree angle, and there was about a 5-foot hole in it, and it was like I could either hit that fence at like 85 miles an hour or try make this gap. And like, you know how it is being a racer, you have to be really quick on your toes. So I made this gap, so I got to slow down at like another 20 miles an hour, and then I hit a ditch which flipped me over, and then I hit the next fence. So It was a bit rough, but no, everyone's gonna step up. We're gonna do some more testing. We're gonna try work on the electronic side a bit more with the Superbikes, because that's just so massive right now. You can see like the progression in teams from like where they started to now, and a lot of it is electronics. And then the Bagger team, there's some interesting stuff in the work. There's talk of a new bike that we might be riding. I don't really know too many details. It's kind of hush at the moment, but the guys are getting hold on one second. The guys are getting everything together for me, and they just want to be bigger and better than next year. So that's the plan. We're going to get some more backing, see if I can kind of get a payroll for myself so I can keep competing here. And and I'm really excited about the future for sure.
Yeah, and Max, Hayden Gillim can only really race baggers for certain teams because he wants to continue to race in probably Superbike, if not also Stock 1000. Your situation with Brandon's team is such that they want you to race a Superbike. Am I right or wrong on that?
No, yeah, they love it. They think that when I get on the Superbike, when I get off of it, it's like riding in slow motion on the bagger, which is not true because those baggers are fast. But honestly, I think that helps me a lot. I said I don't get to ride too often, so the extra track time is really helpful. And then the brake markers are super similar because the Superbike, you're going way faster. So you brake at a certain point, and the bagger's so heavy, you're going a bit slower, but it needs that time to slow down. So I think it's super helpful going back and forth from the bikes. The riding style is a little weird. I got to keep moving my elbows in different ways. So it's like, it's pretty intense, but yeah, no, they love that I'm on that team. Our teams kind of merged a little bit. Like Tim and my dad went over and like helped them with certain things. And then Brandon will like find out certain things that we didn't hear around the paddock, and he'll come over and share. So the team dynamic together is amazing. So yeah, it would be really great if everything stays the same. But yeah, hopefully this year will be really, really good.
Now, I didn't notice. Did you have 2 different pits or in the paddock?
I did. Yeah, no, we had one that was, it depends. Sometimes we, like I said, since I made a lot of friends with MotoAmerica, I'd be like, hey guys, can you kind of put us together? And they did their best. A lot of the times they would put us back to back, which was awesome. New Jersey, we shared a garage, but like some of them, we were like really spaced apart. Like at Brainerd, we were like really far. So I would come in off the super bike, and then the baggers would be right next. I'd get on the scooter, fly down across the paddock, get there, and they'd be like, "You ready?" I'm like, "Sure." Like, let's go. So, it was a bit stressful at sometimes, but yeah, no, 2 different paddocks. I would try and bounce back and forth between, like, I'd go sit with one, talk and this, and then like, all right, now I have to go talk to the other team, and then I go talk to the other team, and then I had to talk to fans and stuff in between, and then MotoAmerica asked me to do. It was some of the times when there was like, it was just super bikes at some events. I was like I could take like a little bit of a breath, but I don't know. I'm always running around, going to the paddock and going on the track to say good luck to people. I never stopped moving anyway, so it wasn't too bad.
You mentioned helping MotoAmerica a couple of times, and before I forget, I want to thank you for that, because I mean, there's so many times when we get into a jam and we're all like, let's get Max, Max will do it. And as you know, we've been up at as you know, you and I have been up at 4:30 in the morning at some racetrack in the dark doing a TV thing. So
that's right.
I remember that, and nearly fell off my bike on live news. That was funny.
Yeah. So it's much appreciated. It's a big help to us, and it obviously helps you as well. So that's cool.
No, yeah. Anytime you guys need me, just let me know. I'll do the thing at Atlanta where I run around and ask random questions to sell T-shirts and stuff. It's fun. It's all part of it. Like I said, I was a little mad though when I was like, "Can you name 3 riders that are here?" No one said me. I was a little upset, but you know.
Yeah, but that was before New Jersey.
Now I think the first names.
Now they're gonna say you, maybe Bobier, maybe Gagne, but you'll be in the top 3. And well, the thing that's cool, it's like the timing of what you did with the podium was like ideal. Like if that podium was at Road Atlanta. We go into the off season and not many people would even remember it, but you kind of nailed that as far as the timing goes.
It was like the last thing, and one of the coolest thing was, you know how obviously we have like the pit, the timing screen and everything. Afterward, for like a week, like MotoAmerica left the timing screen up, so whenever you could just look at it, and I was right there in the top 3, so it was kind of cool. But yeah, everyone went on to the off season like, dang, that was awesome, and like. A lot of people told me it was their favorite race of the year, and I was like, thanks. Like it was a great send off for sure. And also, if I did do it like in the middle of the season, then people might expect it, so that would have been difficult. Yeah.
Hey Max, so I want to ask you you mentioned about your Superbike, about doing some more with electronics. So you are a Superbike rider. You're not one of these stock 1000 that races in Superbike Cups. So tell us about your bike a little bit. Is it a full-on Superbike? Does it have the bigger forks, triple clamps, swing arm, any of that stuff that makes a Superbike?
Yeah, so with our team being small, we just kind of get pieces each year.
Right.
So like I think 2 years ago we got the front forks, and that made a huge difference. And then you could see from like where I started to where I am now, like each year I'm taking about a second off of my lap time each year. So this year was probably my fastest year at all the tracks, because we had a new swing arm from Attack, and the rear grip's just phenomenal. It changes the bike completely. So we had that, which helped out a lot. But no, it's very much super bike. It's got the rear swing arm. It's got the front forks. It's a built motor. It's got a fancy shock on it and everything. But it's just, without the testing that we get, it's hard for us, because like, you know, we have this swing arm and it does 6-7 things. We got a Suter swing arm that does like 6-7 things, and trying to test all those out to see, if we do this, what does it do this? So it was still struggling a little bit. You know, we don't really have the big guys to go rip laps and then come in, change everything, then rip more laps and change everything again. I mean, I think there was one time this year that the Tytler BMW team, they changed their entire swing arm in a session in like 2 minutes.
Right.
And like there's not even a chance that we could do that. It's not gonna happen. So we struggle a little bit on that side, but yeah, it's very much a Superbike. The power is the issue at the moment. It's not that the engine's bad, the engine's great, but the electronics play such a key role into how you can get that power down. Like you see Gagne, he has this really cool riding style, and you'll see him just go through the corner, and then like on the exit, he just pops it up and he's at full throttle. And that bike is giving him every ounce of horsepower it can. And if I did that, I would end up on my butt real quickly. So we really need to work on that. There's a really good system that all the top guys are using, the Morelli system, but
yes,
we can't afford it. It's too expensive. And even if we could afford it, we wouldn't know what to do with it. It's got so many applications and all these different things. And I don't understand any of the lines that pop up on the computers.
Yeah, you actually need a full-time guy that just does that.
do.
I mean, that's the difference now between good teams and bad teams, I think.
Exactly.
Or lesser teams. I don't want to say bad, but
right.
Yeah, I mean, but like you could see it all year. Like obviously Yamaha has a great package. Like they've had a great package all these years. And Tytler came in last year and they've been working really hard, but they're working really hard on the electronic side. Now you're seeing PJ having the same pace as Gani at the end because his bike's letting him do that. It's like the bike gets easier to ride and it's easier to go fast. So the rider's more comfortable, they have more confidence and they can push harder, where I'll have a lot of drop off in my bike from like the first 4 laps. Then after that, it just goes downhill. Or at Pittsburgh this year, we could just not get the rear tire to hook up. And I was really, really struggling. And yeah, it's a really key role. There's a reason that people have data guys, analytic guys, suspension guys, and everything. Good thing is this year we will have a new suspension reader, which I've never had. We've always gone to Olin's and it's word of mouth. I'm like, oh, this is happening. They're like, is it because of this or this? I'm like, I don't know. It just feels weird. But now we have the data to back it up, which that's pretty much all those guys work with.
Right.
So that's going to help me out a lot this year. But yeah, it's really important to have a good data guy.
Do you have the neutral lockout switch on your bike?
We didn't have it much this year. We did get an attack motor, but unfortunately we had an incident with it. And we have the lockout switch, but it's really strange. It's made out of a PVW. Yeah, it's like a choke cable off a PVW50, right?
Yes.
And unfortunately it breaks all the time.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, we've broken ours 8 times. And I know Skoltz had an issue with his, and then Attack had an issue with theirs. They've obviously fixed theirs and upgraded or done whatever, but we haven't figured it out yet. So it just kept getting stuck in gear. Like you couldn't get it out of first gear into neutral. So we are trying to perfect it a bit more because the Yamahas are just relentless on false neutrals. Like they're pretty bad. So it will definitely help out with that too, because first gear power is immense on those things.
Yeah, and I remember even talking to you specifically about that switch, and before I think you guys even got it, but you talked about how you have had those false neutrals before going into turns and stuff, and it's a pretty scary moment for you, right?
Yeah, you just lose all control. I mean, we have pretty severe engine braking on the bikes because we're going so fast, you need every inch of braking you can get. And when you have no engine braking, dude, you're going 15, 20 miles an hour faster into a corner. It's like, do you tuck the front or just run off the track? And I've had a lot of most of my crashes have been from that. And we've actually tuned our bike to ride the track 2nd through 6th. So I don't even have to touch first gear. But then, you have tracks like the Ridge where you have that really, really slow corner and you have to use first gear. And I've hit so many false neutrals into it. And it's a pain in the butt. So the lockout system, once we figure it out and get it more reliable, it's going to be very helpful, I feel.
We've seen you have some crashes in the past, but I don't know, looking back at this past year, didn't you have a better year in terms of, you didn't really crash, did you? Much?
Yeah, I can say it now because it's over, but yeah, this year I think I crashed once on the R1 and it was just a low side. It was my fault. I too much brake too early in the morning kind of deal. I crashed a bagger a bit, but that was a bit rough. Laguna, I pretty much totaled that bike in one race. I don't know how the guys got it back together for the second race, and they did it, and they said just finish, and I crashed it again. So
okay, Max, we've got a problem here because I'm working on this story where I'm going through all the crash data.
Here we go, Max.
I have that you crashed the Superbike 3 times.
Really? 3? Ooh.
I mean, if you tell me, I'd like to.
You're right.
Oh yeah, you're gonna say I am right?
Yeah, I'm thinking. I don't know. I don't remember 3, but in the races or like.
No, it's any session.
No, it's
Max.
over
Any session.
the whole year.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say I don't think I had any crashes in the races.
No, I don't either. I think they're all practice qualifying stuff.
I'm really interested.
It's so funny because I have these right in front of me.
Yeah, that's why I asked Paul. I knew you were working on
them.
Now I'm questioning. Wow. Now I'm going to question all these numbers, but
yeah, now I'm just making stuff up as we're talking.
No, I meant the numbers that I have.
Yeah, you're probably right because right. I'm not thinking that logically, but I can't remember crashing 3 times. I really can't.
All right, well, think about it, and if you think it's wrong, let me know because I don't want to give you credit.
Okay, I'll have to go through all the things in my head.
Yeah, I think you should be able to remember those because they can't feel good.
No. Well, you don't remember all of them. Sometimes you hit your head and the days.
Oh, right.
Well, yeah.
But no, I definitely had none of those. I don't know. Do you count like breakdowns as crashes or
no? It's a different list with mechanicals as it is to crashes. I mean, I'll look at it again. I could have messed up.
No. It's going to bug me now.
Listen, I want to say I didn't mean to put either of you two guys on the spot with that. But when I knew Paul was working on that, and he talked a little bit about it yesterday. And I thought about you, Max, because I know there's been those years, the issue you had with your finger. You've had some crashes where you've gotten hurt. And at least I didn't remember you crashing much, if at all. And I certainly don't remember you getting hurt. So did you get through the season without anything bad?
Just the foot, I think.
No. The only one, there is 2 crashes now I'm remembering because I already forgot about the one in New Jersey. But yeah, no, the only really bad injury I had was the bagger in Laguna. I hurt my hip pretty bad, but it was fixed in a week, so it wasn't that awful. And then just New Jersey had a pretty bad contusion on the arch of my foot, but the doctor numbed it up, so I couldn't feel it. So and then like a week later, I was walking and running again. So no, this year I got extremely lucky. My body parts look the same. I don't have any more messed up fingers. So no, like I said, it's been a good year. The team's super grateful because I saved them a lot of money. So, but yeah, no, try to stay away from that.
Listen, Max, so you mentioned something that's pretty cool. You said that you went a second faster this past season than the year before. I'm glad that you keep track of that because that goes to show you this idea of the older you get, the faster you are getting. But also maybe that is contributing to the fact that you're not getting hurt. You're getting better in that way too. Do you think that's some of it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, crashes really kind of can mess with your confidence a little bit. So like the fact that I haven't been going down means that I can push the bike and have that feel where everything's going to be okay. But yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for me was like, we like to look at our times best off who's going the fastest, which has been Gagne for the past 3 years. And this year I've been the closest I've ever been to Gagne in times. I mean, obviously I'm not there yet, but my dad's like, dude, you're normally like 3 to 4 seconds off of him because of like what he's doing. This year I think my closest I was like 1.8 seconds. So
wow.
Like the drop has been pretty significant. Obviously the big difference, I can't sustain that the whole race, which is an issue, but also my qualifying's been getting better too. I've been really focused on trying to get that one lap. And, unfortunately, I'm not a good follower. I'm not like a Marquez who has to follow somebody. I like it when no one's on the track and it's just me. So I've been working on that quite a bit. But I do think I need to try and do the follow thing. It might drag me up a little bit more so I can be close to those guys. But I don't know, dude. I watch some of these MotoGP guys and it's almost laughable. Like it's like, dude, y'all are all legends. Like, why do you need to follow someone?
Right.
Strange, but man. But yeah, I don't know. I'm excited about next year for sure.
Good.
Sure. It's gonna be good.
Good. I got to ask you something here. So when we had Max Vandenbroek or Max Van on, I wanted to find out. I didn't really know what his Max came from, and we found out his name is actually Maximilian, but not the way Maximilian is usually spelled. The million part is actually spelled like $1 million, which is kind of weird. And I mentioned you on the podcast because I know you were named after Max Biaggi. but
Yes.
your name is actually Max. It's not Massimiliano or something like Max Biaggi,
No.
right? Right.
Yeah, I have a very, very simple name. It's just Max, just like everybody's dog, and then just Flinders, man. Like I mean, I've been hanging out with people, and the amount of people are like, oh, my dog's named Max, and people call me Human Max and stuff. But no, yeah, just Max, dead stop, and then Flinders, no middle name. My dad's like, when you were born, you looked a little funny. We didn't think you'd remember it. I was like, oh, cheers, I
That's
appreciate
awesome.
that.
That's
But
awesome.
speaking about Max Biaggi, though, I actually got to meet him this
Oh,
year.
That's
yes.
right.
And oh, dude, it was like a bucket list thing. I've always wanted to meet that guy because he's a legend. He's amazing, and like he has a big part in racing still. He's still testing Aprilias and stuff. And he came to Laguna, and I was walking around and I heard it over the tannoy, and I'm like, what? Max Biaggi's here? So I like ran up to one of like the Marshall people. I was like, dude, where's Max Biaggi? I was like a crazy fan. I was like, where is he? Gotta go see him. So I like ran over. He was in the MotoAmerica hospitality, and like my dad came with me, and I told my dad, I was like, don't be weird. I'm like, you gotta be calm. So like we had a great conversation. The dude's really, really, really nice. My dad came off a little strong because he gets very excited. But nah, he was a great guy. We took a picture together. Honored to be named after him for sure.
And obviously you told him that you were named after him.
Yeah, that was pretty much the first thing I said. I'm like, I hope I don't sound like a weirdo, but I promise I'm a racer. I'm not just dressed like this. Like, yeah, it was really cool, and he kind of smiled at it and stuff. So yeah, it was really cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, he was I don't know, Paul. Maybe you know better than me, but we knew some of the people that were going to be there for Rainey's ride to the races. But Max kind of surprised me a little bit. I didn't know that he was going to be there. Maybe you did, Paul.
No, I didn't either. It's kind of a surprise. I think he owns a place in Los Angeles or something. So I think he comes out here quite a bit, but he just keeps it low key. But yeah, it was cool that he was there.
Yeah, the reason I mentioned.
I did not expect him to be there at all. I didn't know that he was going to be. I mean, I was so excited.
Yeah. Well, that's why I mentioned it, because if we would have known he was there, we would have mentioned it to you, Max, for sure, because I know what you're all about.
I hope so.
And then we got mixed up in everything that was going on there, and I'm glad you did get a chance to meet him. That's really cool. Paul, I got one other thing I want to ask Max. So Max, you've been with us. You were an original MotoAmerica rider. You were with us from the beginning. Famously was the first rider out on the track at Coda at the very first test we had. So I want to put you on a spot for a minute here, or at least ask you a question that might require some thought, or you might just have it come out. Yep. In the time you've worked for MotoAmerica, or you've worked with MotoAmerica, you've been with MotoAmerica, you have seen a lot. What's your overall, how do you feel about it now, state of the state, from where it's been to where it's going? Do you feel like every year gets a little better, is different? Are there some things you'd like to see different? Just it's kind of open forum for you, just from somebody that's been a 10-year guy here, or 10 seasons.
Yeah, I mean, I think MotoAmerica definitely go in the right direction. The people that they have, like you guys and everything, you guys are going very publicity now, like trying to get us out and promote us and do that. And I think it's definitely going the right way. You can definitely see it grow. I mean, the numbers of people that are showing up to the races and like it's getting better. I mean, and we had like the COVID year, but we won't talk about that. But yeah, no, every year it seems to get a bit bigger. The classes are getting bigger. There's more people out there. I mean, the fact that you guys have to cut, like there's a cutoff for how many riders can be in a race in certain races is crazy to me. But yeah, from the start to now, I mean, they're definitely, I feel like at the start they were kind of trying to follow in the footsteps of a lot of other racing organizations, and now they're kind of their own thing. And I think that's what makes it so special. I mean, if you look up like racing worldwide, from car racing to motorcycle racing, I think MotoAmerica is in one of the top 5 YouTube thing. Like it's like F1, MotoGP, and then some other things, and then it's like MotoAmerica's right there. So they're definitely going the right way. They are pushing everything. They have the right ideas. It's definitely, I think from start to now, we're definitely going the right direction. And I know how difficult it is, because I know the motorcycle world, it's not got the biggest backing ever compared to some other things, and we know that as riders trying to get sponsors for the team. So I don't know how they're working and getting sponsors and doing everything to keep it going, but I'm really happy they are, and I hope they keep progressing in the way they have been. So we're the top viewed racing on the TV or YouTube. That'd be freaking awesome for sure.
Cool.
Yeah, definitely. So Max, I have to bring this up, and I wonder if Paul has noticed it too.
Oh.
See on the phone.
I already know.
It's crazy. I mean, you moved from England. You're British. You moved from England. You were in Slidell, Louisiana. I never detected a Cajun accent or anything like that. And you're in New Hampshire now. Are you in Fremont? Is that where you are?
No, I'm in Epping.
Epping. Okay, close to Fremont. That's right. Epping. Home of Epping Dragway, by the way. But yeah. So you're in Epping, and people in New England have funny accents, especially in southern New Hampshire, because they hear a lot of Boston. Like, you don't have that, but you're British again. Yeah, you noticed it, Paul? He's got his accent's back like crazy now.
Yeah, I noticed a bit of it. Yeah.
I've been hanging out with my mom and dad, and I've been watching this English show at the moment. So I don't know. It's just been coming back, and then I met a friend up here, and their family's English. They sound American, but their family's English. So I've been talking to them, and I don't know. If I'm around English people, it just starts happening, and then I can normally switch back and forth, but at the moment, I'm really struggling to go back to my American accent. So it's still weird though. Like, I say certain things that sound super American, and I say certain things that sound super English. But yeah, my accent right now is really kind of messed up.
It's funny because with my parents being full Australian and being here forever, they still have their Australian accent. I lost mine because I kind of had to do it on purpose because I was a kid and I was getting made fun of. But
exactly.
So I worked really hard to get rid of mine. Now I wish I didn't. But when I hear my parents talk, I don't hear an accent, but when other people hear them talk, they have a hard time even understanding some of the stuff they say. So it's kind of weird. I think it's just different when it's your parents and you've listened to them forever.
Yeah, I think it catches people off guard. Like, when my granddad used to come over, he would just be like, "Oh, what would you like to drink?" He'd be like, "Oh, could I get some water?" And they'd be like, "What?" And he goes, "Can I get some water?" And they'd be like, "What?" And I'm like, "He wants some water." And she's like, "Oh," and he's like, "I'm speaking the same language." So
my dad gets pissy about it. He drinks Diet Coke, and when he orders Diet Coke, they have no idea what he's asking for. So it's like he starts to get a little pissed. Like, I'm saying Diet Coke.
Yeah, I was down in Florida with my friends recently, and they're like, "Oh, what do you want to drink?" I was like, "Oh, can I have Dr. Pepper?" And they're like, "Sprite?" And I was like, "No." I'm like, "What? Where did you even get that from?" And I had it at 3 restaurants. Dr. Pepper was throwing everyone off. I'm like, it doesn't even there's nothing else with doctor in it. It was driving me nuts.
Well, Max, it's hard enough to think of what you're going to say to somebody. Do you actually have to not speak with an accent? Do you intentionally not do that, or is it just natural?
I don't know. It was very similar to what Paul was saying. Like, in school when I was a kid, I got questions. I was known as the British kid. I didn't have a name in high school, dude. I was the British kid. So I got sick of the questions, and dude, I love Louisiana, great state, but there's people that have never left the state.
Oh yeah.
So their cultural awareness is very little, and I was getting some dumb questions. They'd ask me what language we'd speak in England. And I'm like, and I was sarcastic at this point because I just came from England. So I was like, "Oh, we speak Japanese in England." And they're like, "Really?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, can't even be sarcastically funny with them." So, yeah, so I started changing it. And then obviously there's different mannerisms. People say y'all. And the big thing was it was ma'am. In the South, a lot of people say yes, ma'am, yes, sir. And if you're English and you say yes, mom, it sounds like you're making fun of them. So I had to kind of switch my accent to be more polite and stuff for that.
I had to be less polite. I grew up, if you didn't hear somebody, you said, "I beg your pardon," and they repeated it. When I moved here and I got some friends and stuff, they're like, "You got to stop saying that. You just say what?" And I'm like, "What is rude, right?" But
Yeah.
eventually
Yeah,
you
it's
just
like-
give in and just quit being polite, I guess.
Yeah, it was weird because like I would always like do things and they'd ask me a question. I'd say yes, please, no, thank you, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And they just say yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, kind of thing, and it really throws me off. I'm like, okay, so yeah,
And-
I definitely switched for that. But like, I've been talking to my cousins a lot in England and stuff now, and it's the English accent's interesting to people, so it's more fun to use it, I guess.
It's also funny because Americans don't understand like eating with a knife and a fork, right? They don't.
Yeah.
They put
How
the
many
knife
people-
down and they move the fork over and then they pick it up and then they put it back. It's like
Yeah, we sit here, we've got both our utensils,
Yeah.
you cut, you eat like this, and use it together. Half
Yeah.
the people here, they just take their fork and turn it sideways and try and cut through stuff and just slide it off.
Yeah, that's right.
Have a knife for a reason.
Right.
I always break the fork in hospitality because I try to. I don't use the knife, and it's gone flying
Like,
across.
come
the room.
on, cut.
Yeah, but you know, Max, what's funny is now that you're in New Hampshire, but New England, that is maybe has the word England in it, but that they don't sound like they're British at all. Have you talked to people in New Hampshire or whatever that it's like, what are you saying? I mean,
Yeah, no, some people for sure, they say things like, what? Like their mannerism type deal and stuff. I went to Boston and hold on one second. Pepper, go ahead. So I'm just on a talk really quick. So my dog walker just came.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, no, like I remember I was in Boston for the first time and there was a dude playing the drums on one of the buckets. And like all he's doing, I need a quarter like this. I'm like, what did you just say, dude? Like,
My wife likes to always tell this story. So Max, you might remember it. We used to live in Raymond, which is a couple towns away from Epping, where you were or are now. And our neighbors had a dog, a golden retriever or whatever. And Pam loves to tell this story because the dog's name was Bonnie, and we thought the dog was a girl. Well, the dog's name was Barney, and it was a boy. So we thought she would, hey, Bonnie, and he's like, hey, come on, girl, go on to them.
Right.
The poor dog had a gender crisis there right in front of us or something. So, but yeah, they do talk funny.
okay, we got to wrap it up or they're going to kick us off. So,
all right,
Max, it was awesome chatting with you, and we'll see you obviously in Daytona.
sounds good. I can't wait to see you guys there. I won't fall over in the pits this time.
Yeah,
There you go.
That'd be an improvement.
That'll-
All right, thanks, guys.
See you guys. Thanks.
Bye.